Good morning, everyone. We're here today for a joint hearing with Labor and Tourism Committee and the Finance Committee on one bill. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, 11 a.m. via video conference and in conference room 329. First, Vice Chair, can you go through the hearing rules, please?
Thank you, Chair. In order to allow as many people to testify, there will be a 3-minute time limit for this testimony. If you're testifying on Zoom, please keep yourself muted and your video off until it is your turn to testify. If you are having technical difficulties, please use the chat function to contact our technical staff. However, if you are disconnected, please rejoin and we will resume your testimony if time permits. Please refrain from profanity or any uncivil language, as this behavior will be grounds for removal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We're here to hear SB 775 SD2, proposed HD1, relating to the transit accommodations tax. The proposed HD1 establishes the Natural Resource Management Special Fund and authorizes use for monies in the fund. It establishes a Natural Resource Management Commission to guide and approve the disbursement of monies deposited into the fund, allocates transit accommodation tax revenues to the Natural Resource Management Special Fund, allocates transit accommodations tax revenues to the Hawaii Tourism Authority, repeals the allocation of transit accommodation tax revenues to the Special Land and Development Fund, appropriates funds from the Natural Resource Management Special Fund for operating expenses of the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and has a effective date. So first up to testify is Budget and Finance Director Craig Wright.
Good morning, Chair Onishi, Chair Luke, and committee members. I'm Craig Hurai, the Director of Finance. You have our written testimony in opposition to certain aspects of this bill, which are more of a technical nature. I would also add that the placement of the new commission under HTA may have an issue with Section 6 of Article 5 of the state constitution, which requires that boards and commissions be allocated to one of the 20 principal state departments. And I'm available to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Department of Land and Natural Resources, Suzanne Case, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair Onishi, Chair Luke, members of the committees. In case, you have our certainly. We are highly supportive of additional revenues for management of natural and natural resources in Hawaii, and there's lots of discussion about ways to do that, and we appreciate we do have some significant comments, which is that the Department of Land and Natural Resources is the state responsible for natural resource management. This bill excludes any allocation to the department. So we think that's obviously a significant objection to the way this bill is crafted. It only provides funding to the counties and to nonprofits. Additionally, and significantly, not in addition to not providing new revenues, it takes away a $3 million current allocation of the TAT to the department, which is used for natural resource management and is a critical piece of the puzzle. We do have some suggested amendments to fix that. We also think it's more efficient to have this fund be put in the department. It can go into the Special Land and Development Fund and be dispersed out of there. We think that the recommendations of the commission should be authorized to grant funds to state agencies, including the department, and that the commission itself, if the legislature chooses to establish one, should be within the department, and the recommendation should go to the Board of Land and Natural Resources so that we have government oversight of that. I have some other minor comments, and thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next up, the Hawaii Tourism Authority, John DeFries.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Chair. We have submitted our testimony in support, and we'll stand by that testimony and be available for any questions. The one thing I did want to point out relative to budget and finance is, unlike general funds, we're having to go back to BNF to release funds utilizing a process that was set up specifically for the ARPA funds. We are required to submit what is known as a CSFRF document that outlines the amount of the funds we are requesting, the purpose and the process by which we will encumber and expend. This form is then reviewed and approved by BNF. Once that's done, the funds are made available through DAGs for us to encumber and expend. That CSFRF refers to, I'm sure you know, Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Funds. So we stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we call DBED, Mike McCartney.
Aloha, Chair Luke and Onishi, and Vice Chair Sayama. We support this bill in concept, and we submitted some general comments and look forward to working with you on revising it. We support DLNR's clarifications on the money and how it's used, and we also support the technical adjustments by BNF. So we look forward to working with you to move this bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Resources Legacy Fund, Melissa Pavlicek.
Aloha, Chair Onishi, Chair Luke, and members of the committees. On behalf of Resources Legacy Fund, we support this measure. We support investing in protecting and restoring Hawaii's natural resources and work closely with the state agencies charged with protecting them and would support their being able to tap into this fund as well. But we thank you for hearing this measure and want you to know how important it is to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Climate Protectors Hawaii and Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, Ted Bolin.
Yes, thank you, Chair Onishi, Chair Luke, Vice Chair Sayama, and Vice Chair Yamashita, excuse me. Ted Bolin on behalf of Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition and Climate Protectors Hawaii. I share the view of the last speaker. This is a very important bill, and we thank you very much for hearing it. The state needs more resources. This would restore some fairness to the process where a lot of costs are imposed on Hawaii by visitors, and it is only fair that some of the costs be borne by visitors. That's costs of natural resources themselves, but as I indicated in the written testimony, it's also other costs, roads, water, sewer, everything else that we spend on government is added to by visitors. And there should be some mechanism, as this bill provides, for some of the resources to be supported by the visitors through the transient accommodation tax. And it's appropriate that that tax go up depending on the number of visitors. So we greatly appreciate your support for this bill. Thank you so much. I would also, on behalf of the Climate Protectors Hawaii and the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, support the restoration of the $3 million to the Special Land and Development Fund, and generally support the comments that I've heard this morning from Chair Case, Chair McCartney, and others about how this money should be allocated within the budget of Hawaii. So thank you again, and I'm available for any questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, Malama Pupukea Waimea, Denise Antolini.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Denise Antolini. Today I'm wearing the hat as the volunteer president of Malama Pupukea Waimea up here on the North Shore. You can see it behind me. For 18 years, we focused on the community-based stewardship of this marine life conservation district. So I bring to this bill the perspective of a community group that's really struggled to bring resources to do the kinds of things that normally the state government and the county government would do for the past 18 years. So that's why we support this bill. It brings additional resources that benefits everyone, visitors, residents, and the INA and the CAI. And we also want to support Chair Case's comments about the structure of the bill and thank the committees for hearing this bill. It's very important and it will really be win-win and support the already great partnerships that exist between our communities, the visitor industry and government. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Next up, Wild Kids, Arwin Revere.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Arwen Revere, and I'm a high school student from Kailua, as well as a member of Wild Kids, which is a student-run environmental organization. I'm here today to show Wild Kids' strong support of this bill, as we believe it is necessary in order to protect our islands for future generations. Wild Kids believes that this funding would support crucial conservation efforts that are needed to protect Hawaii's natural resources from the impacts of tourism. We feel that this is an investment in Hawaii's future that will build both environmental and economic resilience in the state. By investing in our natural resources today, we can ensure that residents, visitors, and future generations are able to enjoy these islands far into the future. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you very much. Next up, Hawaii Tax Foundation, Tami Machika. No, not here. Next up, Carissa Cabrera, individual.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Carissa Cabrera. I'm an Oahu-based marine conservationist, and I'm testifying today in strong support of this bill, specifically the TAT allocation to our natural resources. I've had the privilege of working with many different nonprofits in Hawaii, and those of us from the industry know that they're often small teams with small budgets, but they're working day in and day out to get this really important work done. And so I think that this allocation could make a really big difference, a transformational difference for that work and for the implications of that work on our island for future generations. I also think that it's high time that visitors play a role in giving back to our island that they also get to enjoy during their time here. And I think that we've all seen that our residents agree with that strongly. So thank you for hearing my testimony today.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Gabriella Echeverry. Okay, not here. Next up, John Kawamoto.
Aloha, my name is John Kawamoto. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'd like to give a brief historical perspective. Prior to the Asian financial crisis that started in 1997, 6.7 million tourists visited Hawaii annually, with 40% of them from Asia. Tourism declined due to the crisis, and in 1998, HTA was created to promote Hawaii tourism. Since then, HTA has done its job so well that it should be awarded and retired. In 2019, more than 10 million tourists visited Hawaii, a record high. On an average day, there were nearly 250,000 tourists in Hawaii, 1 for every 6 residents. COVID caused tourism to decline by nearly 3/4 in 2020. The economy contracted, but many residents were happy that they were not being crowded out of beaches, parks, and other public spaces. In 2021, the UH Public Policy Center commissioned a survey which showed that a majority of Hawaii residents preferred to limit the number of tourists. HTA's budget was cut significantly in 2021. Yet, as Hawaii's economy is reopening, tourism is rebounding quickly. This past February, the tourist count was only 19% below that of February of 2019, the record year, and Japanese tourists haven't come back yet. DBEDT projects that in 2025, tourism will exceed the record 2019 level and keep growing. The majority of residents want to limit tourism, and now is a good time to do it because the unemployment rate is low, only 3.8% in February. This joint committee should hold the bill, the $60 million allocated to HTA and the $30 million allocated to a new natural resources special fund should instead all be allocated to existing programs that preserve and maintain the natural environment. Mahalo for your kind attention.
Thank you. Members, please note that we have a number of individuals and organizations with late testimony and on-time testimony in support. Is there anyone else here that wants to testify on this measure?
Hi, Chair Onishi. This is Jack Kinnear, Conservation International, and hello, fellow members of the committees, and thank you for the opportunity to testify. We have been working on a package like this for over 5 years. We're thankful for your leadership, and I just want to echo some of the comments that Carissa, Ted, Denise, and others have made today in the committee, and also support Chair Case's comments about the important role that DLNR plays in the state. This is a solution that we think has so many upsides for Hawaii in terms of creating green jobs, supporting local nonprofits, and really putting a lot more resources into the community initiatives that have shovel-ready teams ready to restore our coastlines, our reefs, our forests, our wetlands, and more. Thank you for your leadership. I've submitted testimony, and there's a wide set of groups who have come out in support of this, and appreciate your leadership on this matter.
Anyone else? No? Okay, members, that's all the testimony we have. Are there any questions?
I have a brief one.
Yes, Representative.
And I promise I will be very fast. I'm actually interested, is there a testifier Quang Tran present in the Zoom room or here in the committee room?
No.
If not, well, I just wanted to, if I can make a comment really quickly, Chair. In the testimony provided by Quang Tran, I think this is a very innovative approach to the green fees. It changes the conversation, but keeps it very germane. In Ms. Tran's or Mr. Tran's testimony, he or she presents the alternative that we have in front of us, which is to apply an allocation of the TAT to protect and maintain resources. So I just was surprised at this testimony and the detail. This was a 6-page testimony, and I think it really supports the position that's in this bill at this moment. So thank you, Chair, for letting me comment on this testimony.
Thank you. Any further members have questions? Yes, Representative Kobayashi.
I'm wondering if DLNR is still on the line. Well, right now, I think that DLNR's testimony is that the board as proposed in HD1 be retained. The board in proposed HD1 is a large and unwieldy board. It looks like it's 17 members, not confirmed by the Senate. It has 5 members who come from nonprofit organizations. It just so happens that proposed HD1 can give money only to counties and to nonprofit organizations. So there may automatically be a conflict of interest between board members voting to give their own nonprofits fairly large bundles of money. When ethics is applied to legislators, we cannot, for instance, lobby our own colleagues after leaving office for a period of 1 year. Such restrictions are not in this bill. So nonprofit organizations can have a member, voting member on the board, and also possibly award them considerable amounts of money. At the same time, you have this 50-member board, you will have the state Board of Land and Natural Resources, sort of like parallel tracks. And I would say that that board has only 7 members. So anyway, I think there are lots of issues related, but.
Yes, Rep. Kobayashi, I sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just want to totally agree with your comments, and you know, there are some who would like an independent commission. We certainly think we can make recommendations to the board within the department. We do that all the time, and this can get very, very unwieldy, and also not have that external government oversight. And as you very much point out, a lot of potential conflicts of interest. So we do think it's actually much simpler to have it make the recommendations be made within the department to the Board of Land and Natural Resources for decision.
Members, any further questions? Yes, Representative Runkel.
More of a comment, but I was looking through and it says that the expense for the staff should be no more than 3% of the annual allocation. And they said that there would be 2 staff members and it would be up to 900,000. That seemed quite costly for 2 staff members to see that. And then additionally, the grants would be 5% of the monies dispersed would be administrative fees. And so taking out the 900,000, that would also be $1.5 million just to administer the grants, which also seems very expensive as well. And so I just wanted to point that out to the body that I think this is an innovative and great idea, but I don't know if this is the right mechanism to get the money out to the community.
So Representative Bronco, just for clarification, so the 3% includes staffing and operational expenses of the commission. So it's not just positions.
So 2 staff and then.
And operating expenses like for the transport of members, if they're from other counties, to meetings, preparation of materials, they may need office space, equipment, so.
It makes sense for 14 members on it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight that because it's not just for 2 positions.
I have a quick question.
Yes, Representative Sayama.
For chair case DLNR, I just wanted some clarification on what the department is using the special land and development funds currently. How is it being utilized?
So our testimony refers to a portion of funds that come from the TAT right now. And so some of it goes to state parks, some of it goes to enforcement, some of it goes to beach restoration. More generally, the Special Land and Development Fund, with income from other sources that the department generates, supports all of the land division and all of the Office of Conservation and Coastal Land, the Dam Safety Program, and certain other portions of certain other programs.
And how many years has DLNR been provided this TAT allocation?
I can't recall, but it's 3 or 4 or 5.
Okay. And within, say, those 3, 4, 5 years, would you say these outreach or sustainable programs have been carried out effectively throughout the state?
Yes, those programs that have been funded have been very important programs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, members, any further questions? Okay, if not, we'll recess for decision-making. Okay, we're reconvening the hearing with the Committee on Labor and Tourism and Committee on Finance for decision-making on SB 775, SD1, proposed HD1. In the proposed HD1, we're going to be making the following changes. In section 201B-BE2 on page 9, we're going to add state agencies to the list of entities who can receive grants. We're adding 60 million as the appropriation for section 5, and we're changing the defective date to be effective upon approval. Members, any questions? Labor tourism? Okay, Vice Chair, if you can take the vote.
Voting on SB 775, SD2. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair, Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Bellotti.
Aye.
Representative Hall.
Aye.
Representative Kobayashi.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan. Aye. Representative Takayama.
Aye.
Representative Okimoto. Excused. Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you for the Committee on Finance, same recommendation.
Senate Bill 775 SD2 as amended. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Representative Bronco. Reservations. Eli.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Iligan.
Aye.
Kobayashi.
Reservations.
Martin.
Aye.
Nishimoto. Caruso. Excuse. Sayama.
Aye.
Tam.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Wahlberger.
Aye.
And McDermott. Who's here? Excuse. Adopted.
Thank you. This means